what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the Steve Rising video. And in today's video we have something a little bit special because we got some early access to Maru. So we're going to be taking a look at her abilities, showcasing some gameplay, and just kind of talking about first impressions with her. And before we get started, I do need to tell you that this is the pre-release version of Maru, and some of this stuff is subject to change, so something could be different on the release. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys got ready for some more Destiny Rising content. So let's get into it, and first, like always, we gotta take a look at the Relic abilities and see what they're all about. Now, the very first one is the passive, Collapse. Dealing or absorbing damage with abilities, provides resonance with it, enhancing all of Maru's abilities. Losing health or shield will result in a loss of resonance, and the higher Maru's resonance is, the more she will lose. So it looks like this passive is going to be all about being full health essentially, and building up that resonance as we are absorbing damage and use dealing damage, so we can improve our abilities. So let's see how that ties into some of the other abilities, like Inhalation Blast. You fire a cannonball that flies up to 40 meters, which is pretty long, and it explodes on collision or reaching its maximal range, dealing void damage to the targets within a 6 meter radius. It's actually a pretty big radius, inflicting knockback, and Maru will also be subject to knockback herself, so you can actually push yourself back whenever you activate this ability. And depending on the resonance you have, you're actually going to be increasing the cannon's wall damage up to 100% when your resonance is full, which that does sound pretty good. Now when your resonance is also 50% or higher, the cannonball will explode and will eject 3 smaller shells, each dealing a bit of extra damage within a 4 meter radius. Essentially, it just kind of like breaks off and makes a couple of other little explosions, but it's going to give you even more ad clear as well as just more damage. So it's a pretty simple ability, a little bit extra damage, a little bit extra ad clear. It seems like it's going to be able to do tons of it if you actually have a lot of resonance. And yeah, you could think of it as another, grenade launcher shot or a rocket shot that's going to be doing lots and lots of damage. Now your second signature ability, Abyss Engulf, essentially spawns an overshield from your cannon, and it protects you from damage as well as converts some of that damage into overshield at 370% efficiency. So it looks like you are going to be getting quite a bit of overshield from this, as long as you're actually taking damage. Resonance is going to increase the duration of the overshield from 4 seconds, basically doubling it to 8 seconds. So just like with the other ability, if you have full resonance, you essentially double what the ability actually does. Now when the resonance is 50% or higher, the ported sprayer will gain a larger projection range. So whenever you take damage, it actually just gets a little bigger, and it makes it easier for it to actually block damage and to protect your allies. And since we're blocking more damage, we're gonna get just more overshield. Overall, it does look like for Maru's abilities, you're pretty much gonna want to be always above 50%, so you can always take advantage of those increase or enhance abilities, I should say. Now something that's cool about this ability is that you can still use it even when not fully recharged, it just won't last as long. And also, if any combatants ever come into contact with your barrier, they will also be taking damage. So if some melee enemies try to rush you, they'll be taking damage as well. So this is how the shield looks. And if you were to take any damage, then it would be a little bigger. But that is essentially like the full duration. And then you can activate it essentially whenever you want. And I actually like much better than the abilities like this than if the ability wasn't like a set cooldown, because it means that you can use it a little bit more reactive whenever you need it, and then when you don't need it, you can just turn it off just easily, and then continue to still recharge your ability and just have it up a lot more often, as long as you're not using it too often. Basically using it against big enemies to like tank a bit of the damage, or whenever you are getting damage, because if we're not dealing damage, then the ability is not really doing anything. So I'm really glad that you can like essentially toggle it on and off and just basically have it on all the time whenever you need it. Now lastly for the super is the Blight volley. Maru enters the super state and shoots a barrage of energy projectiles from the collapsing cannon. These projectiles explode upon detonation and travel a maximum of 30 meters. So it doesn't travel as much as the skill, but they are going to be doing still some bit of AoE damage in a 3 meter radius. So it's not just a single target type thing, you're still going to be doing some AoE damage. And the resonance is going to affect your stability, density, and damage to the energy projectiles, giving you up to a 60% damage increase when the resonance is full. Now when you have 50% or more resonance, The energy projectiles actually gain more range. They can travel up to 45 meters, which is a little bit more in line with the actual skill. And it also gains the ability to track combatants, which is definitely going to be very cool. Now, with this your super state, your walk speed is actually increased, so you can move around better with the cannon. You gain damage resistance, but your sprint is going to be disabled. So, no sprinting with the cannon. Her super is really what I was really excited about her. Oh yeah, she's so much faster now with this walking speed. Her cannon used to do some crazy amounts of damage before, so it looks like that's gonna be a pretty good way of like just doing a ton of burst damage, as long as you're again keeping your resonance full. It seems like the whole playstyle, it really is just around the resonance and essentially just keeping that system up by not really losing too much health and just taking advantage of your shield constantly to build up all that energy. Her weapon mastery is blast resonance. When your resonance is 50% or higher, lightning heavy grenade launchers will produce 3 void element spirit shells, each dealing some void damage to combatants with a 4-meter radius. Alright, so let's hit it right here. Oh, yep. We saw the extra projectiles. So it's like essentially like little cluster bombs around the area wherever you hit the enemy, just giving you a bit of extra damage. Her resonance, like you guys saw right there, it builds up very quickly, and it gives us quite a bit of overshield, even just blocking a little bit of damage, which was like my main worry when I was reading those abilities, because you know you never really want to rely on enemies shooting you a whole lot. So I'm glad that I used a couple of shots of damage, give you a ton of resonance, as well as give you a pretty good amount of overshield, and the resonance not going down, you know, just like being on timer is also such a huge like difference that's really gonna make this whole thing just a lot better. So essentially just kind of gives your grenade launchers cluster bombs like if they were a mini rocket, as long as we have our resonance up, which is pretty cool. And then the level 4 upgrade makes it so the split shell damage increases by 8% every time you hit the same target, up to 24%. So it just makes it better at doing any sort of single target damage, which is like the main worry with the grenade launchers. So it seems like this is going to be helping you with that. Basically just deal with some of those bigger targets a little bit more effectively, even with the primary grenade launcher. And now let's take a look at the relic traits. The first one is a very good one, being energy reserve. The barrier generated by Abyss Engulf will recharge Annihilation Blast when it absorbs damage. So just taking damage with our shield will allow us to reduce the cooldown on our Annihilation Blast or our Cannonball, meaning that we're going to be able to use it a lot more often, and we're not going to have to wait for that 20-second cooldown. Because that 20-second cooldown did seem kind of long, especially for an ability like this. It's pretty straightforward and seems to just be all about doing damage. But I'm very glad that we can actually reduce the cooldown by just using our barrier and blocking some damage. Now our second trait, Harmonizing Transition, makes it so Abyss Engulf doesn't interrupt reloading. Reloading is still possible when the barrier is active. And I actually didn't even think about this before, but yeah, you could actually shoot and put up your barrier and still reload. Now the barrier will go down once you shoot again, but it is something nice that you can essentially like fire up your grenade launcher, put up your barrier still before the reload is actually done. And I can definitely see this making Maru just play a little bit smoother, since you don't have to like wait for the reloading and such. With these types of weapons, you can immediately just activate your abilities without like them conflicting too often and just having to reload again, which is like my main issue with the grenade launchers, just like the constant reloading. I think it's definitely going to help her quality of life and just her playstyle feel a little bit smoother. And lastly, we have the final wish. The hitting a target with Blight volley refunds up to 100% super energy depending on the target. Base combatants give you 10%, elite combatants give you 20%, and then powerful and stronger combatants give you 30%. And what this is going to do is that it's essentially going to extend your super as long as you're killing some of these enemies. And let me actually see if I can show you if there's any enemies around. Oh, we actually don't have the super. So Let's see how much damage it takes for us to lose some of this resonance though. Now these guys are missing quite a lot, but it seems that we're not really losing too much. Like, at all. Especially considering just how fast we get it too. So at least this type of enemies, we're not really losing too much resonance. Especially with the amount of resonance we gain. It doesn't seem like it'll be an issue. But let's see if we have any volunteers around here for... there you go, we do have some volunteers. So let's activate our super. We do get some of that damage resistance. And you see that we get a bit of a jump on our super. It's not huge since these guys are like the lowest tier enemies. But it should help us get a bit more of our super out there. And just be able to get a couple extra kills with our super, or just do a bit of extra damage on with our super. Depending on like the amount of enemies, that's really what's gonna matter. But it looks like it can like essentially double the amount of time you have in your super, which is it's pretty cool. So that's how our kit is looking like. Unfortunately, we weren't able to show them in our usual area, in the weapon testing area. But now we're gonna head into an activity and show you how she actually plays whenever you're playing her normally. So let's get in there. Oh, looks like we're playing with some bots. Well, that's pretty much to be expected. But here we go. We're gonna be playing the Foundry Strike. I'm just kind of seeing how she does. This is gonna be like my very first time actually playing with her. You know, these are legit first impressions. Her sprint. It looks like she's walking faster. I think it might be the outfit that makes it kind of look like that. But let's actually fire off the cannonball right here. Oh, wrong one. See if we can get some damage here. Nice. We build up our resonance. Let's put this up again. Lower the cooldown of the ability. The extra damage from like the weapon mastery is definitely pretty nice. It looks like she is gonna have like essentially a permanent overshield as long as we're using her shield ability. Which is definitely pretty nice. Oh, we kind of missed. It does add a bit of extra forgiveness to her shots, I suppose. Because we kind of missed that guy, but the extra projectiles kind of just hit him anyways. Oh, thought we were gonna block something. Block this guy. And because we could just spam this, we could just block a bunch of damage essentially all the time. Hit this guy with the cannon. We do have the super, so next time we find like our room of guys, just gonna fire it off and see how much we can extend it by. Oh my god, the range is really nice. Really nice, that range. Block here. Look at the type of like well, they kind of stopped shooting at me. I was gonna say, look at the type of let's block some of this damage. Nobody's shooting at me. I guess not. That's the unfortunate part about having to rely on enemy damage. So if they stop or they ain't shooting you with damage, pretty much just wasting your ability. But it looks like they knew that because oh, they're all dead already. Well, you got to use it a little bit. What I'm interested in is also the type of boss damage it's gonna be doing. Because it seemed like it was going to do some pretty good amount of damage, especially once we have a resonance full, which I feel like most of the time during the strike we have. So that's going to be pretty interesting as well. By the way, if you guys do have any other extra questions, make sure you guys leave them in the comments below. And I'll be sure to answer them or make a follow-up video if you guys are interested in some things and seeing some things before the release. Set this guy with this. Actually, can we take advantage of damage over time? Yes, we can. Looks like it was counting to reducing my my ability cooldown for my other signature. I haven't really used my heavy grenade launcher that much. But we should be able to do some pretty good damage with this as well. Because it also procs the extra damage from my like weapon mastery. Oh my god. That's definitely gonna add some extra power. Let's go get this guy over here. Hit it with the cannonball. Oh, that's a huge range. So see the type of damage we can put on against this guy. Ah, it was just okay. It was just okay. Let's get the cannonball. I think we can reload and just basically have the shield up this whole time. Not only building up over shield, but keeping our resonance up for the extra damage. But that's gonna be Maru, the first look at Maru that I have for you guys here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, if you guys want to see something else that has to do with Maru, definitely leave me down in the comments below. So thank you for watching today. Thank you for stopping by. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.